Okay.
Thank you, Fabiana, and a warm welcome also from my side. My name is, as Fabiana just introduced myself, I'm not a professor. I'm just a PhD student at university, but I'm happy to represent our Institute for Strategic Management, Marketing and Tourism, and I'm happy to introduce you to the two parts of the GATE project, the GATE guidelines, and in order to produce guidelines and other documents related to the GATE project, also the stakeholder perspectives we have investigated throughout this GATE project. So first of all, as Fabiana just mentioned, this is the user interface, the interface of our GATE website, where all the information to the GATE project and all the findings we gathered, all the materials we have that resulted out of the GATE project are provided to you for free or for open access. And my part will be, as mentioned just before, the project guidelines. I would just like to introduce you shortly to this document, which is available in the languages German and Italian, which is fantastic, as I think that all the participants of today's conference are able to understand either German or Italian, so everyone should be able to enjoy this document. And the main target of this document is to provide a guideline for accessible tourism development in alpine regions. So all the visitors on site should have the possibility to experience nature, to get in touch with nature, to do some hiking. And therefore we made this document available to all the potential stakeholders and also the people that would like to take just a small stake in accessible tourism to foster this accessible tourism development in our alpine regions. All in all, it has 16 pages of content, and it was kind of a living document throughout the whole GATE project. Now, what's the content of these guidelines? First of all, we started with the introduction to the GATE project, which has been given already by Fabiana shortly, and I think that all of you has some basic insight. Otherwise, I don't think that you would be taking part today. And the second part, the core content of this document is given. So the guidelines that build on the three guiding motives of the GATE project, which I'm going to present just in a moment. And in the third run, also the competitive advantages related to accessible tourism are given. Of course, we are aware of the fact that our GATE guidelines are not the first guidelines that exist towards accessibility. Therefore, we provided also a sample of different guidelines for the development and improvement of accessibility. So to the first part, I skipped the introduction to the GATE project, as I have already mentioned, but what I would like to mention just shortly is that approximately 100 million people in the European live with disabilities of any kind. And for the global population, this number peaks at more than 1 billion people. So the potential of accessible tourism is highly underpinned with this information. And as you all have just mentioned in this Slido questionnaire, accessible tourism provides this tourism or takes this tourism for all approach. Therefore, all potential visitors of a destination should be attracted with tourism. And especially what has to be mentioned is the group of the seniors that are at the age of 65 and older, that might be confronted with age-related disabilities. And you have to be aware of the fact that more than 20% of the European population count to this target group of seniors. And also the demographic change. I mean, all of you are aware that due to the eldering of the global population, also the number of seniors will rise in future. Now, to the core content of the GATE guidelines, I would like to just introduce you shortly to the GATE guiding motives, which are three. And the first one is the accessibility of the alpine heritage. So in the guidelines, there are just informations on the importance of a regional development strategy, the accessibility of a whole tourism value chain. Also, also the involvement of people with disabilities, and also very important organizations for people with disabilities who share the interests and the requirements of people with disability. And as in every target group in tourism, also marketing and communication plays a central role when attracting also this target group of accessible tourism. The second guiding motive, the freedom of the movement, of course, accessibility of hiking trails and nature in general is to be highlighted in this aspect. Also, the multi-sensory signage, which is signage that is adapted to requirements of people with disability. And this was of such a high importance to us that we decided to build up or to implement a long-standing document on multisensory signage, which is also available for free on our website. There is also the information given on what are the requirements of people with disabilities talking about signage. And also what brings me to the next part, the symbolization of accessibility. So mostly, or it's quite spread in tourism marketing that the wheelchair symbol is used to signify accessibility on site, but that's not always helpful for people with visionary or hearing disabilities, for example. And this brings me also to the web design and of course the general accessibility on site. So all these facts are described in more detail, of course, within the guidelines. And reading through all this brings us to the question, why should I just implement accessible tourism in my region? And that's therefore we also provide this competitive advantages related to accessible tourism. Because this increasing numbers of seniors that are traveling, these are people that are retired and they have time to travel. And this also in the low season, therefore they also have this low seasonal dependency. They have the possibility to travel also in spring and autumn. Therefore, it's nice for the HNT service providers to concentrate on these people with disabilities in order to strengthen or to lengthen this peak season from July and August. And as I have already mentioned, these further guidelines are also provided, so also on accessible web design, accessible tourism, experience in nature, name it. So there are really interesting guidelines also provided in the GATE guidelines document that are also available online. One more time, as I have mentioned several times now, it's an open access document which is available for free online on our GATE platform, and we would all be happy to share our knowledge with you by if you just download this document. So in order to construct these documents such like the GATE guidelines, we have to do some investigations on the market, on the stakeholders, and therefore we did on the University of Innsbruck this stakeholder analysis and investigated the stakeholder perspectives. In order to do so, we of course needed to first answer the question, what are the relevant stakeholder groups in the development of accessible tourism? And doing some analysis and literature reviews, we came to the end that there are four main stakeholder groups in the development of accessible tourism, which is first the HNT service providers, which are the hoteliers, restaurants, and so on, and also the people with disabilities as target group, of course, are the second stakeholder group. The third stakeholder group are the organizations for people with disabilities. They share the interests of people with disability, and they represent people with disability and through the government and in other aspects of life. And this brings me also to the fourth stakeholder group, which are the governmental agencies. Of course, it was not enough for us to know about the four stakeholder groups. Therefore, we wanted to know to which extent the different stakeholder groups collaborate with each other in the development of accessible tourism. And in order to answer this question, we arranged 17 expert interviews in spring 2019. And of course, I can imagine that some of you will be counting these numbers in the boxes at the moment and come to the end that there are 22 participants, in fact. This has the reason that some of the 17 participants took part in several stakeholder groups. For this reason, also the complete number of stakeholders might be higher than the real number of participants. Now, this brings me to the results of our research, where we can say that these were rather twofold. So on the one hand, there is a high awareness of the high potential of accessible tourism development. On the other hand, there is, especially when talking about the digitalization, there is this lack of uniform and reliable information found online. And this brings me to the statement which was also mentioned, that the people with disabilities, they have the desire to find a bundled information, a reliable information online, and they don't want to find several platforms where different information on the same hiking trail is given, mostly even differently evaluated. And to work towards this problem of digitalization, also this readiness of collaboration is not always given. And to get into more detail to that, I would like to share this slide with you, where I need to first take a comparison between collaboration and cooperation. So while collaboration requires the participants to share their knowledge, to create the best possible outcome together, to get into direct interaction, cooperation deals more with this information exchange. They work rather isolated towards the target, they work together towards the target, but rather as isolated. And this is what also can be seen on this graph, where the big stakeholder groups, they do interact with each other, but this in-depth stakeholder collaboration has not been found really throughout this research. But what has been found was that in between the stakeholder group of people with disabilities and towards other stakeholder group, the collaboration was quite high. And therefore, it was really interesting for us to investigate the perspectives of people with disabilities on that. So we arranged 3 stakeholder workshops in spring this year, and asked ourselves the question, what are the experiences people with disability have related to traveling to alpine regions? And therefore, we were highly grateful for the tight collaboration with the ÖZIF Tirol Landesverband for people with disability. So it's also an organization for people with disability, and they have high expertise when dealing with people with disability. And they were they shared their expertise with us, and also their network to people with disability with us, and this was of course highly supportive. So as I know that 2 representatives of the ÖZIF Tirol are with us today, also a high thank you also for this. So the 3 focus groups took place in spring and were on mobility disabilities, on vision and hearing disability, and learning disability. And the outcome of this 3 stakeholder workshop were spread over the whole service chain you can see on this slide. So on the one hand, in the pre-travel phase, there is this staff that does not know how to operate the support techniques for people with disabilities, such as ramps, and also this ignorance of and insufficient awareness of the HND service providers is sometimes also criticized. And the fear of getting the wrong train and bus, especially for people with learning disabilities or hearing disabilities. On site, often the accessibility that is promised beforehand is not given in the end. So the expectation versus reality does not fit together in the end. And therefore, the accessibility is often criticized to be mainly related to mobility disabilities and often neglected the requirements of people with hearing or visionary disabilities. That's also visible with high room numbers and unlogic architecture and so on. And in the post-travel phase, there is this feedback loop that is very important, but the feedback is often disregarded by the HNT service providers. And this brings me to our 4th stakeholder workshop, which invited experts in the field of accessible tourism. We decided to present our findings towards the stakeholder collaboration and the barriers people with disabilities face when traveling to a panel of experts. We were 16 different, there were 16 experts present in this video conference, and we came to several implications for the development of accessible tourism. So in pre-travel phase, on site, and post-travel phase, all in all, it's highly important to concentrate on this high potential of digitalization, as up to now digitalization rather produces barriers for people with disabilities than cutting these barriers down. And also up-to-date information and sustainable treatment of feedback. Yeah, that's all from my side. That's the insights on the GATE guidelines and what we have done concerning the stakeholder perspectives. And I'm looking forward to the further presentations, and thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Can you see the full screen?
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Guntram.
Okay, fine. Okay. So welcome to everybody. My role here is to summarize some lessons learned by the GATE pilot sites. We have 4 pilot sites, and these are just a brief overview. There is we have sites with different focus. There is the virtual reality geopark Blätterbach experience. So virtual reality is there the focus. We have a interactive adventure chatbot developed by Paco Rossi. Here in Salzburg, we have the Easy Hike, so a platform for hikes for families with small children, also with stroller, and the Sentiero della Sensibilità, which is a 24-kilometer hiking trail adapted for visitors, and there is a web app, multimedia guide with state information stations, e-beacons for cultural and landscape information. So what you get from this, my focus is on applications of information technology, which is one focus area of the GATE project. To develop these applications to make it easier for people with disabilities, but also others, to find information about accessible tourism sites, and also at the sites support the accessibility and enjoyment of these sites, which are of course very important also from the perspective of natural and cultural heritage. First of all, let me just show you some pictures to give you a flavor of what the project is about, what has been developed. Here you see some images from the Blätterbach Gorge, which is very difficult to access for people with disabilities like visual impairments, of course mobility impairments, and so on. So a virtual reality experience has been developed to enable people with disabilities to actually fly through the gorge and also above the gorge, see the whole area. So a new experience for people who cannot access the sites. But also when, for example, when weather conditions and other conditions do not allow access, you can still use this virtual reality experience and learn about the sites, the development, the geology, and so on and so on. Another application is the in-game interactive adventure chatbot to experience the Paco Rossi history, architecture, and so on. Of course, for all these applications, which I briefly introduced now, there will be more extensive, more detailed presentations in the afternoon. Another application developed at Paco Rossi is this tactile talking model. So you can experience the Paco Rossi stories of people who lived here, architecture, and so on, just by touching this relief and exploring the stories about this villa. So another application is we have developed in Salzburg is this platform for easy hikes. So there is 82 hikes and other attractions in the Pongau region, which is one part of the country of Salzburg. And finally, the CAI Alpago Sentiero della Sensibilità, which is a long trail which has specifically adapted for people with disabilities, and also with a new signage system giving direction information about which parts of the trail are accessible with different disabilities, information available. And there has been a lot of work by volunteers to adapt this trail, and also work on the web app with this information. And there are beacons on the sites where when you approach a point of interest, you get information, cultural information, natural information, and so on. So this gives you a flavor about these different sites, these different applications, different contexts. And my role here is to summarize some of the experience, some of the lessons learned from all this work. And Right. I forgot one. Actually, there is another site, which is the Patscherkofel in Innsbruck, which was not a pilot site, but this area, this cable car with the stations, restaurant, and other areas, it has been made fully accessible for people with disability, and this was the place for interviews with stakeholders, with this people with disabilities, and also these interviews, this content is used for training videos we have developed, which also will be presented afterwards by Robert Eller. So this is also very important because cable cars are the way to access mountains, to enjoy views, starting points of hikes and so on. So it's also a major theme in the Alpine region, cable cars and their accessibility. Well then, so what are the experience, what are lessons learned from the project? First of all, there is the importance of collaboration. As also before Joachim Nick has addressed, it's important to collaborate between different stakeholders and different expertise. So what you need for an inclusive development of an inclusive IT application, you really need a collaboration of a team with multidisciplinary expertise. So different expertise for accessibility, for content, for technology, for stories, and so on. Also important, you will have to collaborate with public and private entities. Just one example, the CAI Alpago, Sentiero della Sensibilità, this long route, this now accessible route, to really make it accessible and barrier-free. There was a need to collaborate with municipalities and also local families who own these regole, so areas that are collective properties. They had to have agreements, cooperation with and among these entities to support making the trail barrier-free, install technology, and so on and so on. So also in the GATE project, which is a cross-border project of partners in Italy and Austria, there has been an exchange of know-how among partners, which often help to implement best practice solutions in different areas, like for example, how to use Braille, how to do the signage, for the web app, and so on and so on. So here on the right hand of the slide, you see quotes from statements of partners about this topic. Just to address one here from the Parco Rossi team. To realize an accessibility project, you need to know how to be inclusive. So this team with this multidisciplinary expertise, there has been a collaboration that is aware of different needs, of different knowledge, and it's important, like as Independent L said, it's important to integrate these subject-specific skills for the project to make application that really meets the needs of different people. Talking about required expertise, of course, you have to have an excellent project management for such a project, which really enables all team members to play to their strengths, to drive the project forward, even against all odds, like in our case, the COVID-19 crisis, which also affected, of course, the project. You have to be user-centered. You have to use user-centered design, which means you have to involve end users, people with disabilities very early on in the project and throughout the project, also including the final testing until the launch of the application and so on. Other expertises are really dependent on the type of IT application to be developed. It's different when to create content and integrate it in the case, for example, of augmented reality experience, also in technical terms, of course, and also the usability of such tools and services. Important, not every IT application has a narrative dimension. For example, our website, the Kinderleicht Wandern, is primarily an information platform, but others, like for example the Parco Rossi, this chatbot for interactive experience and learning and in an adventure game on the park, you really have to think about the storyboard, how people will interact with it. So the interaction design, the creation of multimedia content. Multimedia content can be very different things. So text and images, sound recordings, speeches, videos, animated graphics, and so on. And even in our case, historical scenes. So historical scenes in the Parco Rossi villa, where the owner, so the founder of the Parco Rossi, invites the participants to the villa where there is a ball, and you see some historical scenes which are of course reenactment with actors. And in the case of the Sendero della Sensibilità, they used parts of the Richard Strauss Alpine Symphony to create a musical path along the trail, which really binds together emotionally the stories that you can then hear or see with text and images at some points of interest. There is, of course, also the connection between content and technology. And one learning experience here is the more specialized the technology, for example, virtual reality, augmented reality, touch sensors, and so on, the more effort you have to, there is more effort to integrate the content for telling the story. For example, there is also for this Villa Rossi 3D model, which you have seen an image before. You have to fine tune this integration of physical elements, so parts of the relief and the touch sensors and the recorded stories about the villa. So this is really a case of integrating this. And for this, you really need specialized technology providers who are also, of course, knowledgeable of the content and also digital accessibilities. And the high standards of these providers really help to create a successful project, a successful products for the people you want to help with these applications. So applications, it's important that the application is really flexible to enable different modes of use for people with impairments. For example, not only that you can use text, images, videos, but also use it just as an audio guide for visually impaired people. Or that you can use, for example, videos with sign language, subtitles in case of hearing impairment. For this, you need really a flexible technology. But it's also important that that the application works for the operator. So the operator who offers then these tools, this experience to the end users. And this is a question about costs of maintenance, updates, and so on. And they're really, if you have a flexible web app, it is much easier to keep information up to date, add new content, for example, in the case of the Sendero della Sensibilità, add new points of interest, or in the case of Kinderleicht Wander, where we use the WordPress content management system to add new hikes to the platform. Well then, of course, participation of users. I mentioned before that it's very important to involve people with disabilities very early on in the project, and also the client and operator of the solutions, because it's important that the solution you develop also supports the goal you have as an organization. For example, as a heritage organization, like for example in the case of the Blätterbach Natural Heritage Sites, that it also informs people about this site, about its importance, about you can learn there about the history of Earth, about the area there, and so on and so on. And also, of course, if you are a tourism organization, for example, in Salzburg, we cooperate with the Salzburg Tourism Agency. They, of course, also want to bring people to the area, in our case, to the Pongau, to stay there for some days and enjoy the site. So partners used very different methods to involve users with disabilities. And for example, workshop with staff of visitors. This is an area where you have to talk with people who run visitor centers, so receptions, guides and so on, because they know about the visitors who come there maybe for years. They know how they think, what they will experience, difficulties, and also of course the goal of the organization. Then collect user needs and suggestions of people with disabilities. So organize workshops with them, get their needs, understand their needs, and get suggestions. What to consider when developing an application. Involve them, of course, also in the design phase. So how should this application look like? What should it offer in terms of functionalities? What difficulties to consider? Then also, for example, collect feedback on a prototype beta version at public events. For example, on the right hand below, you see an image where the virtual reality application has been presented at the conference, and people could then just test and give their feedback. Testing, of course, also of the functionality throughout the development, also the web content accessibility guidelines, the compliance of the applications with it, and also the usability. Of course, also final testing in the field, in the park, in a hiking trail, and so on. Technical aspect, but also, of course, and important interviews on the user satisfaction. Does the application really provide what you want to provide to the users in terms of history, stories about the sites, and so on. There was also a statement from our colleagues at CAI Alpago who learned that it's more important to get opinions in the development phase of an application, and not only at the final testing, because at the final testing, when you hear about problems with the applications, you will not be able to change the tool completely. You only can modify some features that maybe don't work that well, but not the whole application. Well then, impact of the COVID-19 crisis. Of course, there was a strong impact of the health protection measures on the pilot side, especially those where face-to-face work was necessary, on-site work was necessary. So the development of the IT applications was at times disrupted, which caused delays and so on. Only Kinderleicht Wandern, where we did not have to work on site, so in the field, at trails, in parks, and so on, people there, so we could proceed faster and even launch the application in July. I will present some results of this then in the afternoon. Other pilots could not roll out the applications in the summer season. So, but meanwhile, all are tested, completed, and available for the next season. There are, of course, deeper impacts of this COVID-19 crisis. First of all, what we learned is that this crisis, these lockdowns, limitations to access areas, created, of course, an increased demand for being in natural environments, not just being locked down in your house or apartment, but to hike, to visit nature parks, and so on. I think this demand will stay with us. So important now is to ensure that people with disabilities are not left behind. And organizations that have a mandate for this and expertise for this should now boost their efforts to make sure that people with disabilities are not left behind. And actually, this could also be beneficial for the organizations, so to be more visual and more impactful in terms of making life and access easier for people with disabilities. There is, of course, also the impact on the operators of tourist facilities. For example, visitor centers, they must come to terms with the requirements of health protection, and also the sensibility of visitors to contact things, to get close to other people's, and so on and so on. So this will require to limit number of visitors at peak times, manage the flow through the areas, so at the reception, exhibition spaces, and so on. Another impact installations with controls, for example, installations with touch screens, headsets, and so on, they are also affected. And we can expect that maybe many visitors will remain sensitive and not touch such applications or installations. And so an important topic in the coming years will be installations with touchless controls, so by voice and gesture recognition. So this is a new area, maybe for a follow-up project of GATE with the new technologies and new application areas. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for listening, and I hand back to Fabiana, who moderates our conference. So
Thank you, Guntram.
wait a moment. So
So I come back. What we've created is two parts. It's the web videos, the webinars to educate the tourism experts, to raise the awareness of the tourism experts for the special needs of the people with disabilities. What we figured out during this project was there are so many different disabilities and so many different needs, and often tourism experts are not aware what needs do people need with certain disabilities. For that reason, we created 5 videos or 5 webinars to bring this experience and to educate the tourism experts. And the first video what we've created is about the mountain infrastructure, what is important for people with disabilities. The second video what we've created is about the mountain experience. You know, when people are up there in the mountains, what do they look at? What do they experience? What are problems for them? Then we've created a third webinar which covers the topic about web accessibility. Many destinations have websites, but often the websites are not accessible to people with disabilities as they should be. So we've also included many guidelines in there. Then we've created a webinar about park visitor guides. So if you are a destination manager or you want to enable your park to people with disabilities, you'll find a lot of information in that web video. And what we've also created a 5th video webinar where we go deeper to the problems about people with disabilities during the hikings and what they people need. The goal of these 5 webinars is to educate the tourism experts and to create an understanding for the tourism experts to understand the needs what people with disabilities have. So as I said previous, we've created a video about the mountain infrastructure. It's available on the GATE website, so please refer to the chat for the links. And the content of this video is what are the needs of people with disabilities, what barriers they face. And this is when you've watched this video, this goes through covers the whole journey along up in the mountains, and we go in this video directly to barriers, to information systems, to accessibility, and what belongs to the people with disabilities. And what's also interesting in this video, we cover also the participation of people in their social life. So what do people care really about, and what do they care about them when they go up to the mountains? The videos are spoken in German, but they are also available with English subtitles and Italian subtitles. So when you go to the website and you see it under the webinars, and can have a look at it. I don't play it here during the presentation because it would take too long. So each of these videos comes with an extensive questionnaire after the video, so you can educate your chosen experts and you can check your knowledge, what's discussed in this video and what has been shown in the video, if you're on the right track. If your tourism experts have understand, or your employees have understood what's told about in the video, and every video and every webinar comes with such an extensive questionnaires. So the only thing what you have to enter is your email address, and you can go through this questionnaire as often as you want. The second video, what we've created, is about the mountain experience. It's about 15 minutes, and it's of course about the needs of people with disabilities, and it discusses quite an interesting point of view. How do people with disabilities gather information when they plan a trip? And also what's important in this video is people with disabilities travel often with partners who are not have any disabilities, and what informations are important to those partners when they plan a trip to a park or to a mountain. And after the video is also a questionnaire available, and this covers about the mountain experiences. As Joachim and also Guntram told in the previous presentations, people with disabilities often communicate in their community and share their experiences. So if you're a destination manager or a manager who wants to enable your park or destination to people with disabilities, have a look at this video and step into their shoes of people with disabilities and look what they are searching for. The third webinar, what we've created, is about web accessibility for all. So it's a 10 minutes video about web accessibilities, and we have interviewed partners in the GATE project, people with disabilities, what are the most common pitfalls and suggestions for web accessibilities. And they also provide some tools what those people are using, and also the common pitfalls what are often on the website. So if you're a destination manager and I want to enable your destination, listen also to that webinar, and also educate your content manager and people who are responsible for your website, so that you present the best experience to the people you want to attracting to. There's also Independent L is also talking about a lot of in this webinar about the needs and the tools what's available, and it's also great suggestions for the destinations to produce their own website. There's videos are available spoken in German and in Italian, but there's also subtitles in English and Italian. And at the end, or on the website, you find also an extensive questionnaire to check your knowledge if you get all the points was presented in the webinar. The fourth webinar what we have produced is a park visitor guide. It's recorded in the Destination Santorso Municipality. It's about 10 minutes, and what we've present in this webinar is suggestions to improve the visitor guides for people with disabilities. So we discussed also, we've interviewed people with disabilities, and they used a multisensoric approach in this park with a tactile, visual, and vocal support to those people. And also when you go through this webinar, and also for your managers, there are great suggestions how you can improve your destination and support the people with the needs. And there are a lot of examples there. The webinars is spoken in Italian and German, and the subtitles are available in English and also in Italian. So it's always multi-language. And at the end, there's a questionnaire to check your knowledge. And the last video what we've created, or what the GATE project has been created, is a video how to support physically and visually impaired people, hikers, when they conduct a walk through or taking a hiking journey. the video is about 10 minutes, and it covers all the pitfalls and needs and suggestions for the peoples and what they experience. It's worth to look at it. Because the people also provide many insights about the tools what they are using and what the destination can consider to support the people with disabilities and attract the hiking trail. And what also in these webinars is also a lot of supportive information for companies or for partners who are not have any disabilities, but what they are looking at. And the subtitles are also available in English and Italian. And at the end is a questionnaire available. So when you refer to the chat, please have a look at the different webinars. Their webinars are for free. They are for destination managers and employees who are interested in the special needs and to educate also the people, the employees in the different destinations. So the question is, was also Guntram and Joachim also already said before, there's a lot of needs and a lot of things to think about it. And if you're a manager or you're an employee in a certain destination, you have the question, how do I adjust my destination to the requirements of people with disabilities? If you are another destination who is already enabled, we've created help desk. The help desk is also available online. Please refer to the chat. And we've posted there many information in form of a frequently asked question dialogue. And it provides a lot of support for anyone who is interested in accessible tourism development. This could be destination parks, hiking areas, outdoor areas, everything. And what we've created here was a lot of information about the implementation techniques. And it addresses all stakeholder groups, and it is available in the three languages. The topics of the help desks are more high-level help desk is the potential of inclusive tourism, what Joachim already had said, which is also available also in the guidelines. Then the needs for the people with disabilities, the different types of inclusive tourism, and also about the help desk. So, so what our goal was is to collect all the questions what raised when you are a manager and to enable your destination, what come into your mind, and we've provided many answers and many links to further resources what's available on the web, and we have also created links to special organizations who are really deep experts in these fields. In Italy, it's Independent L who has quite a deep knowledge about that, and in Austria, it's the ÖZIF Tirol. When there are some questions are unanswered, these are two organizations you can go to and refer to answer your last doubts. We've also added supporting material on the GATE website. It's about the guidelines and also a large document about the multisensoric science. And this is a collection of implementations, examples on the pilot side, and what you can use and what you can adapt your destination to make it accessible for your new target group. So these are always available on the GATE website, and it's available for free. So thank you for your attention. This was the GATE help desk and also the GATE webinars. And I will hand over to Fabiana.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. No, hello from my side. Hello to everybody. As I said before, I don't know if you heard that. I'm the project coordinator by Independent. We are competence center for assistive technologies and for accessibility, where we are working in the field of digital accessibility as well as for the removal of the architectural barriers. We participated in this exciting Interreg project to contribute our competences in this field. And as you know, the accessibility of the IT tools is really fundamental to promote barrier-free tourism. And in that case, indeed, is required on the 2007 UN Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and in the EU guidelines, ensuring obviously an easy access to the information for all. We can go to the next slide. Independent in the framework of GATE Project developed various accessible online tools. And here the objective was not to develop new tourism promotion portals, as you know, already present in the various territories, but to make available to these and other websites new repro modules for front end. That's to say the part end users see in the internet, as well as the back end. That's to say the back office, the part where you normally are organizing your data entry. Creating new and innovative tools, starting from the development of Alto Adige per Tutti, of Südtirol für alle or South Tyrol for all. And thanks to the financiation of the European Regional Development Fund, we were able to develop really a nice lot of accessible online tools for multimedia content. There is first of all the IT tool GATE, that is a template for mapping and displaying points of interest for people with disabilities on a website. Then secondly, we created an accessible web app for multimedia content with already a concrete showcase implementation and valorization of multimedia content in the pilot site of the autonomous province of Bolzano as a geopark guide. Then we've got somehow a little experimental template that is in the field of artificial intelligence. We created a template for chatbot on the Facebook Messenger with a concrete showcase implementation and valorization of multimedia content, in this case as well for the South Tyrolean pilot site with the name Blätterbot. And last but not least, in the work package number 4, this is the fourth activity we have done, the expansion of our app Car Park Finder through the installation of the first parking sensors in Bozen. Within work package number 5, that is then one presentation we will see in the afternoon, we also realized a first experience in virtual reality. We can switch to the next slide, please. This is the IT tool GATE. It's an IT tool, as I told you, a template for mapping and displaying points of interest for people with disabilities. It's really useful, and it's a user-friendly, accessible plugin. And it is the possibility to, it gives the possibility to the operators to show all these points of interest in the vicinity of a structure, like, for example, accessible facilities, such as maybe an accessible toilet, or it could be as well a bus station or recreational activities, or maybe just another site near your museum or near your structure. And we think that this is really a useful information. It's an information that is maybe essential for visitors with disabilities, influencing their choice of destination. And furthermore, it allows the person to organize the visit in the best possible way and to know obviously in advance about possible obstacles. The plugin was developed by Independent. It's an in-house product on the basis of South Tyrol for all, inclusive barrier-free tourism, and it's compatible with WordPress. That's the most used WordPress or content management system at the moment, with about 65% in the world. On client side, again, here the keyword front end, it can be easily adapted graphically using the same styles on as are already used on the website. So it can really adapt it to the corporation, or sorry, to the corporate identity of a structure. And obviously, as we heard this morning, more oftenly, the tool is available free of charge to to all interested entities in the cooperation area, and can be requested by writing directly to Independent L. We go to the next slide. Here you can see part of the documentation package handed out. The documentation package we hand out includes, first of all, a handbook for developer with the source code they need to program to put in the plugin. Then secondly, obviously, a handbook for how to do the data entry. And last but not least, we created a data entry form to collect information on site that can be really interesting. As we heard, there is also an interest by the Municipality of Santorso. They think of going maybe in contact with entities or with associations for people with disabilities, asking them maybe to collect the data or on the site. We can go over to the next slide. This is just a slide I want to leave you summarizing the main points regarding the IT tool GATE here in the documentation. Let's go over to the next slide, slide number 7. This is our product number 2. I would like to invite you to point or to read in this QR code you see on my slide to start the application directly on your mobile phone. So you can see already the end product. We present you, in addition to our IT tool GATE, we have developed this second product. It is a web app for multimedia content and a concrete showcase implementation we also realized for the GeoPark named GeoPark Guide. The application for the valorization of multimedia content was created by a company from Trento called UHopper on behalf of the UNESCO Dolomites Foundation and our coordination, that's to say, under the coordination of Independent. This new web app for multimedia content is accessible in terms of digital accessibility for all. So it's really usable and user-friendly for everyone. The digital program works with every smartphone, and content management system can be used by interested entities in the program area. In order to avoid the obligatory download of another app on basis iOS or Android, which for many users has or is already an access barrier, we have deliberately chosen an accessible web application with responsive web design. That means that is optimized for all the different mobile devices, and which can be activated simply by pointing on this QR code. As a concrete example of implementation, we elaborated the multimedia order guide GeoPark Guide for the South Tyrolean pilot site, which enables an inclusive experience of nature for the whole family. The application gives as well in-depth information for all age groups. And as you see on this slide, we somehow installed along the walking path from Passo Clini to Malga Gurding about 8 points of interest, starting at the car park space, with a big information panel. That's somehow the content you can see on that slide. And along the whole trail, we installed other 7 small points of interest, with just little panels where you can point the QR codes. The trail is suitable for families with strollers and people with motorized wheelchairs, such as, for example, Swisstrack. The accessible content is available in 3 languages, the languages German, Italian, and English, plus in this case, a really interesting thing is that is also we reproduced all the contents also in the Italian Sign Language list, where we have a lot of videos in that application. Passing to slide number 9, I just allows me to give you a little overview of the product. Here on the left side, you can see the front end of the web app for the end user. And on the right side, a few impressions from this wonderful accessible walking path from Passo Oclini towards the Malga Gurdin. And on the right side, upper side, you can see that after a short additional hike through the woods, you can reach a really impressive viewpoint over the Blätterbach Gorge. That is the picture right up at the right side. Going to slide number 10, it's again just summarizing for you the main points regarding the web app for multimedia content. We pass over to our product number 3, the experimental artificial intelligence, where we created a template for chatbot on Facebook Messenger. This chatbot is a software designed to simulate a conversation with another person. And through the development of this chatbot for the pilot sites and the concrete example, the showcase of implementation already realized for the Geopark Blätterbach with the content Blätterbot, we were already able to upgrade concretely as well digital content already existing in the using portal, in that case of the Geopark. On this slide, you can as well just point on the QR code, reaching directly then the Blätterbot, and you can interact with it in your preferred language. The example of implementation in the South Tyrol, known as Blätterbot, has been integrated directly on the Facebook page of the Geopark and offers not only general information about the visitor center, but also an educational game with changeable gameplay. And all the content is accessible in German, in Italian, and in English. And obviously, the operator of the museum is in any situation able to upgrade the information or to put other information in this template of the chatbot. The company UHopper, in that case, was commissioned by the UNESCO Dolomites Foundation, developing the chatbot template and on using the Facebook Messenger, which is known to most of the users. And secondly, it's already the users are already used to it, and so they are really using it intuitively. And furthermore, another reason for what we have chosen this messenger platform was obviously the guarantee to give really a good maximum of digital accessibility. Let's go to the next slide, number 12, summarizing the main points of the chatbot Blätterbot. Fabiana, you can switch to the next slide, please. We just wait 1 second. So that slide is summarizing the main points regarding the artificial intelligence, the template for the chatbot on Facebook Messenger. Going on slide number 13. We can go on. Slide number 13, explaining the product number 4, the expansion of the Car Park Finder app by installing the first parking sensors. In 2016, our cooperative developed an accessible app for iOS and Android named Car Park Finder, which shows all the reserved parking spaces for people with disabilities throughout South Tyrol. We did a survey with GPS, collecting all about in the whole area about 1,300 car park spaces in all the 116 municipalities of our province. And as part of GATE project, this application was now expanded, and 10 parking spaces in Bolzano were equipped with car park sensors that show the occupation status, free or occupied, of the parking spaces in the app. The implemented pilot project proves that innovative technologies also gives a big contribution to improving the quality of life for all the people, especially in terms of smart city. At the moment, this is all. We just quickly go to my last slide for this at the moment, giving you a few impression or showing you a few pictures with details of the built-in parking sensors we used, which have been installed under the pavement with a special hardening resin. Okay, this is all from my side at the moment, and I would give back the speech to Fabiana. Thank you very much, Fabiana. Regarding the virtual reality, what is the context? We've got the Geopark Blätterbach Visitor Center in South Tyrol in Aldino. This is a really special place, allowing to admiring the mountains from within, looking closely at the rocks and understanding how the Dolomites were formed. And thanks to the project GATE and thanks to the collaboration with the UNESCO Dolomites Foundation, the gorge that is part of the UNESCO World Heritage of the Dolomites was adapted, or we did this technology for this special pilot site. The gorge and the Dolomites present itself like an open book in your you can really, or in which you can read the book, or which you can read about 40 million years of our planet's history, and who is the adaptation or this special activity made is particularly interesting for hikers, as well as for scientists or families with children who can take a journey through time on this site, on this really interesting site made barrier-free by the GATE project. As you see on this slide, you can focus, you can point on this QR code, getting directly addressed to the video we produced, so that you will see with the output realized for this South Tyrolean pilot site. It is an immersive visitor experience with virtual reality entitled Back to Blätterbach. In the Geomuseum in Redagno, visitors can experience the Blätterbach Gorge virtually and really realistically with special 3D glasses. And in this way, especially seniors or families with strollers or people with mobility impairment can immerse themselves in a barrier-free way in this special nature of the Blätterbach Gorge. The didactic high-resolution 3D videos were created in 3 languages, in German and in Italian, and obviously also in English. And in full line with the themes of GATE, we produced a virtual reality experience where you can see on the slide a few impressions, preparing a specific area of the exhibition in the Geomuseum Redagno. Using a 3D visor, the invented figure Maya becomes the virtual guide for this exciting educational excursion into the gorge and explains how this canyon was formed and how geologists were able to also reconstruct all this history of this particular nature. And the content has been developed in cooperation with the South Tyrol Museum of Nature, obviously in collaboration with the UNESCO Foundation, and it's suitable for visitors of all age. The virtual tour through the gorge offers the possibility to select various settings according to the different needs of the visitors. Starting from the choice of language, as I mentioned before, Italian, German, and English, to the infographics and the choice of a long and a shorter versions. That also a really practical reason for the operator of the museum, who can decide when there is a lot of people, a lot of visitors, to just show maybe the short version. When maybe there is a lot of people, and when there is just a few people or less people, we can or they can decide to show as well the longer version. What we also did was that we had prepared, we were realizing a kind of PR trailer, a shorter video shown in the ticketing area that gives the visitors a brief introduction in this new experience, so that they are really able, that they can use the 3D glasses really independently without the need of supervision maybe by other staff necessary just in this area. The Geomuseum in Redagno has made a room available to host this virtual reality experience, but we really hope that once the renovation work in the main visitor center is complete, that also there a 3D workstation will also be available at the Geopark Blätterbach Visitor Center in Aldino. This is all from my side. I really would like to invite you trying out this experience we installed in the museum, and I would give back the speech to Fabiana. Thank you very much for your attention.
So, okay, thank you very much. So I will be presenting what we did at Parco Rossi, the project Parco Rossi for All today. I will start by introducing, of course, the Parco, and then I will go over very quickly to some of the principles and some of the considerations that we made and that informed the choices that we made in order to have the results of Parco Rossi for All. So Parco Rossi, first of all, is a historical, romantic, and inclusive and multimedia park in Santorso in the Alto Vicentino area. We are in the Veneto region, of course, and this is a sort of gem in Santorso. It's a historical place, an extremely interesting place to discover, with many features and many things to discover. We in Parco Rossi, we developed Parco Rossi for All, which is a project of inclusive communication, which aims at making the historical, scenic, and architectural context of the park available to everyone, or to the highest number possible, as you will see, as I will explain in the coming slides, using a design for all approach, of course. Talking about the principles, the first one, which informed many of our choices, is that disabilities turn into a handicap only if they are not taken into due account. In this sense, we tried our best to go beyond the sanitary approach, which is generally focused on the illness. And we espoused an approach which is context and person dependent, or context and person centered, if you prefer, and that looks at the person, and in particular at the person in the relation that this person has with a specific place. So the effort was to listen to the place, or to try to feel the place and to imagine what are the person's needs, or what might the person needs be, and hence find the best solutions. Another principle that we really took into consideration is that no longer we don't want other or invisible people to still be such. In what sense do I say that? There is a common belief, of course not in the field we're talking about today, but a common belief, a general belief, that physically impaired people are somehow representatives of disabilities in general. Well, this entails a risk which has to do with the fact that people with sensory disabilities may somehow become invisible to projects and interventions and solutions that might help them. Starting from this very idea, we've developed an approach which is focused on inclusive communication. Another and third main principle is that every single step, and this is more methodological if you want, every single step we took during the development of the solution, the Parco Rossi for All, has been conducted in a co-design mode, or co-design approach, with a co-design approach with the potential users that will then make this experience of using, of course, Parco Rossi for All. And the constructive and propositional approach of these people have proven extremely rewarding, but extremely important as well. Of course, now I just briefly mentioned what design for all means for us, and it means to create accessible places, products and services to be used independently, safely and comfortably by the largest number of users. In order to implement this approach or this strategy, we faced the challenge of integrating different technical competencies, which, as I mentioned in the slide, should not, at least in our, as far as our understanding is concerned, should not be considered as a mere sum of different technical competencies, but requires an harmonization. This is the very reason why we found extremely useful to have a sort of orchestra leader, someone who could integrate and harmonize all these different competencies. Okay, from here I just move on to explain or to describe what Parco Rossi for All is and its main components. Parco Rossi for All is composed by four main tools or contents. The first one is a tactile info map. Second one is an audio guide, which I will explain shortly. Third is in-game. And the fourth one is a 3D model of the villa, which dominates the park. So, starting from the tactile map, well, it is no more than a normal map that generally welcomes visitors with information about the place, but also with some instructions, some very detailed instructions on how to conduct the visit. And this has been conceived and developed to allow tactile reading with integrated audio and braille of course, language for blind people. In this respect, we like to think that the welcoming that we give to people is for all since the very beginning. So the Parco Rossi welcomes people in a for all approach since the very beginning. The second element that has been integrated, as well as the tactile map, they were pre-existing. The Parco Rossi for All project, we call it 2.0, in the sense that we worked before the GATE project and then we integrated with the first two. Components, therefore the tactile map, as you can see here, which has been changed, of course, to include the contents that concern or that have to do with Parco Rossi, with the new project, as well as the audio guide. Now we have a dramaturgic tour with an audio tale and 19 different stations in different languages, of course, Italian, English, German, and Lisa Italian Sign Language. And everything revolves around three main themes: history, water, and trees. This is an extremely fascinating and engaging experience to discover the park. Is made for children, but also for adults. So people really enjoy that, and I highly recommend to try it. It's we mentioned that it is a multi-sensory experience in the sense that the visitor is encouraged to use all his or her senses to experience the park, by touching, by smelling, by doing many things or that the guide, the audio guide, suggests or invites a person to do. I now pass to describe in-game, which is the main effort in the framework of, as far as Santorso is concerned, in the framework of the GATE project is concerned. And this is a reality game, a highly user-adjustable game with an intelligent interactive chat system available with your smartphone or tablet. It is built with an app, a web app, with the important advantage that people don't have to download an app, but they can just connect to a website, a web app, as I said, and they can start using the game straight away. This is just to give you an idea of the very first steps that you will see if you try in-game. This is the graphic design. So we have this small crocodile or sort of that, or dragon is more like a dragon probably, that represents the guide, the virtual guide of the tour. And the structure of the game is probably the most important, the most interesting part. As I said, is highly customized in terms of language, in terms of preferred mode, so you can use audio, text, images, or all of them simultaneously. And there are different game paths that take into consideration the needs of the user. I will go into details a little bit more in the coming slides. So other things that are worth to be mentioned is that there are different or multiple perspectives and different parallel stories with the use of different narratives. So it's really a very special experience with different contents, multimedia contents that make the experience much more engaging, in my opinion. As I said, we have 3 different itineraries or routes, and the green one is the completely accessible one for everyone, and there are some others that that take into consideration, of course, different disabilities, but depending on some of their characteristics, might be accessible to some, but might not be to others. In-game, as I said, can be used by using audio, text, images, or other modes of interaction. But of course, some of the contents and some of the structures that we built was built with the exact purpose of developing solutions for blind and deaf people. And here comes back the idea of inclusive communication, as I mentioned before. Of course, we have different languages. And just to give you a hint, a very short idea, a very small idea what you might find, each route includes different stations, generally 6, even though in some cases we have more. We have pit stops and different missions that have to do with treasure hunts, memory games, composing puzzles with images, multiple choice quizzes. There are tales, stories, and anecdotes that somehow enrich the experience. Anecdotes, of course, closely related to, and history and stories and tales closely related to the park. Each route has different missions that once they are completed, they give points to the person who plays, to the user. And in the end, at the beginning and at the end, Alessandro Rossi, the founder, as it was mentioned before by Guntram, of Parco Rossi, Villa Rossi, congratulates, first welcomes and then congratulates to the with the people, with the player. In developing the game, we used or we followed the World Organization for Web Accessibility guidelines, especially in terms of color contrast and font weight. These are some of the pictures of the inauguration. We'll just go over them very quickly. A few months ago, and these are some pictures of people playing. So you can see there are kids, there are different kind of people, and here we have some just limited ones. And then as a last content, or as a last tool that we developed, we have Villa Rossi 3D model, a 3D model that is conceived with idea of making the exploration of Villa Rossi accessible to everyone, to discover the architecture, its history, of course. And what is particular about this model is that by touching the surface, by touching some specific sensors with your fingers, the system provides audio information in Italian and English about, of course, architecture, history, about a number of information and interesting information about the villa. The 3D model is suitable, of course, for blind and visually impaired people, but as we expected, as we thought, and as we developed according to this expectation we had, everyone is using it. And it's a very different experience for kids, but it's very different experience for adults, just to close your eyes and to imagine, or just to experience this different approach to a visit. A device that we like to say is to read with your eyes, but also with your hands and ears. So thank you for the presentation. I'll be glad to address your questions if there will be any. Okay, thank you very much. The floor to you, Fabiana.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Laura Zuccato, and I have the pleasure today to illustrate to you what the CAI Alpago implemented in this very challenging but also very important project like the Interreg GATE. So first of all, I would like to introduce you CAI Alpago. So CAI Alpago is a non-profit association which is based in San Martino. It's a small hamlet in the municipality of Chiesa d'Alpago in the province of Belluno in the Veneto region. And this association has the aim of promoting mountaineering in all its forms, so the knowledge and study of the mountains, and especially those where social activities take place. And of course, one of the main aim of the association is also the protection of the natural environment in the mountain area. CAI Alpago counts more or less 430 members nowadays. And as the name already shows, CAI Alpago is situated in Alpago, which is a natural, wild, and uncontaminated cradle. And this territory offers mountain enthusiasts and lovers of tranquility a perfect place to immerse in the nature. And so it is a really full and important experience that a person can have while walking and visiting this place. Starting from this consideration and considering the environmental context, was born the idea to develop a trail that would give everyone, in the largest sense of the word, the opportunity to visit and discover this wonderful valley. So I'm going to illustrate you what CAI Alpago carried out, starting from let's say the result of these 3 years of work. So in this picture, you can see one of the 3 panels placed in the 3 main axes to the path. CAI Alpago decided to trace a trail which is long, more or less 24 kilometers in the Alpago Basin, at an altitude of about 1,000 meters and a maximum altitude difference of 300 meters. You can see it in red. I don't know if I can maybe give you a more, maybe you can see better the red line. This trail passes through 3 municipalities and 7 regole. Regole are collective properties belonging to local families that owns the territory where the trail passes through. And it was really interesting to get in touch and create a network with the 3 municipalities and the regole, in order to share with them the idea of this path, this trail, but also to have all the permissions to develop this trail. Moreover, both municipalities and regole showed a very active collaboration with CAI Alpago, because, for example, municipalities gave the support to maintain the trail also after the end of the project, and collaborate to have the best situation for the walking in each season. So, as you can see, the trail is characterized by stretches marked with the white dashes. These are wheelchair accessible stretches. So, while the whole trail is accessible for visually impaired people. On the panel, these indications are also perceptible to the touch, as the path is in relief, the red line is in relief, and the sections are clearly marked. All along the path, you will notice that there are symbols with headsets. There are 2 headsets indicating 12 headsets indicating the 12 points of interest individuated by the CAI Alpago, but probably they will grow up and in the future. And for each one of these points of interest, an audio and text contents are available, offering information on the history, on the environment, the naturalistic characteristics of the place where you are. So this information is available in 3 languages, Italian, English, and German, and are also accompanied by wonderful images. So these points of interest are also called talking points, and in each one of these talking points, it is also possible to listen to musical contributions taken from the Strauss Mountain Symphony. So it's like to have a really complete experience with the nature, the sound, and all the senses. So the panel offers also general information about the trail and the legend, which and this information are also available in 3 languages. From the panel, you see it is possible also to access to the web app, but we will see later in specific what is the web app about. Close to the main panel, as you can see in the picture, there is a smaller one. It's a smaller panel with the braille text presenting the trail and providing general information on how to access the services and content of the web app. It was decided to put this small panel aside the bigger one in order to make it more easily accessible to visually impaired people. All along the trail, there are track markers. Actually, there are 36 couples of track markers that always indicate the final point of arrival for each direction and the point of interest in terms of distance and possibility of finding audio contribution. There are also indications if you can find a picnic area, for example, and so it is possible to plan how long to walk and where have a rest, for example. Moreover, all along the track, there are 30 additional track markers with just the logo of the trail in order to guarantee the hiker and the walker that he's in the right way. Parts of the bottom of the trail was adapted to the passage of people in wheelchairs, and some sections of the trail were cleaned in order to make the whole trail accessible to visually impaired people. All these works were implemented by CAI volunteers that, yes, are very expert in this kind of activities and, yes, dedicated that time to these works that have to be done. So let's talk now about the web app, which is the ICT technology that the CAI Alpago developed in yes, to have a more complete, safe, and full experience in walking all along the trail of perceptions. If you want, you can download the web app by using the QR code. And yes, as Antonio said before, for the web app of Santorso, CAI Alpago decided to make a web app instead of an app, classical app, because after having verified that the whole area of the path was reached by the GPS signal, this solution would have allowed more than one advantage. The first, the end user would only have to download the web app to his mobile phone and not the contents, because contents are stored in the CAI Alpago website. And this will allow not the bundling his device. So considering that often disabled people, especially the visually impaired people, use several apps and therefore have not so much space in their mobile, this solution will give a more sustainable use of the web app without creating problems with the mobile device. Secondly, a web app, it's easier to be maintained and integrated with new content. So, for example, the CAI Alpago directly can input new contents and information, and this is good for the further implementation of the offer. And the web app has a lower cost for the implementation and maintenance, and so this is another reason that makes it more sustainable for the future developments and maintenance. In the app, you can find information about the trail. So here you can find information about the length, the altitude. You can find a map of the trail with all the points of interest. You can find information about each one of the points of interest, so with cultural, environmental, naturalistic, and geological information. Of course, some general information about CAI Alpago, and also information on the equipment needed to walk in the Trail of Perceptions. It is not necessary to have particular equipment, but there are some suggestions in order to have a safe and yes and good experience. So CAI Alpago, in order to give visibility and promote this new trail in the Alpago area, developed also some communication materials in order to inform people about this new reality, and some postcards. So these are some pictures of the front and the back with the description of the Trail of Perceptions, a small map, and the possibility to access to the web app by using the QR code. So in the end, we would like to summarize which was the process and let's say that become somehow a model to be followed to achieve these results. So first of all, it was necessary to create a work and research team, which in our case was made mainly by volunteers, After that, there was the tracing of the trail with the connection with the municipalities and the regole, of course, as said before. After that, there was the study of the logo, which was shared with some disabled people and professionals in this field, because of the colors, in order to define the right colors, the right forms and lines and so on. After that, the team evaluated which kind of materials and supports were necessary to facilitate the use of the trail. So panels, track markers, how to make it, where to place these supports, and so on. In parallel, there was the study of the structure of the web app that, as Guntram said before, was made with the final users, so people with disabilities, because it was important to have a good structure to be used by them. And then, of course, in the end, after the testing, we received also more feedbacks on how to improve the details of the web app, but the structure was shared with the final users. We have to say that we had a really great support also by the company that developed from the technical point of view the web app. So the web app is the result of a great collaboration among different stakeholders, let's say. And yes, and gave the expected results. So as I said before, during the walking, the hiker can experience also the listening of some track music in the point of interest. So also in this case, the volunteers studied which kind of track to dedicate to each of the point of interests. And the study and the realization of the communication products. And after that, this phase of study, there was the practical installation of poles, of panels, of panel support and track markers. The installation, of course, of the iBeacons, which is the technology that the CAI Alpago decided to use in order to facilitate the access to the audio and textual contents in the point of interest. This technology allows people walking to receive an alert as far as they are close to the point of interest. The app gives an alert that some audio textual contents are available. So also for visually impaired people, it is very useful to have this kind of alert, because they are able to to see and listen the contents, the audio contents. After the practical installation of these technologies, there was the testing of the trail and of the web app. I would like to stress again the importance of the networking with the municipalities and the regole which are parts and owners of the trail, of the territories where the trail passes through. They gave the authorization, but mainly they gave their really concrete support in realizing the trail and also maintaining it in a good way. So on the 31st of October, we had the testing of the path and the web app. Unfortunately, due to the COVID emergency and the restrictions, it was not possible to have a big testing, a big day of testing with a lot of people. But as you can see in the picture, yes, more or less 15 people tested the trail. 3 of them were disabled people, 2 visually impaired people, and 1 person in a wheelchair. And in the end, the outcome was very positive, both from the point of view of the walkability and use of the trail, and also for the use of the technological support offered by the web app.
Sorry, Laura, I point out that the time is almost up, so you need to finish your session soon. Sorry.
Yes, this day was really interesting because we received a lot of suggestions for further improvement of the trail and of course of the web app, and so it was very, very successful. Thank you very much for your attention and for your patience. I give the speech.
Sorry, Laura.
Yeah.
The last pilot site in the queue, it's our Kinderleicht Wandern, so easy hikes in the Pongau region of Salzburg. It's one of the 4 GATE pilot sites. Actually, it's a website for over 100 sites. So we didn't work like CAI Alpago on one specific trail in the field, but developed a platform which makes it easy for families with small children to find trails that are suitable, also in case when you use a stroller, so a very small child, and so on. So it's has been developed by us, so Salzburg Research, in collaboration with Salzburger Landtourism, so the main promotion agency for tourism in Salzburg. And there is the website link in the Kinderleicht-Wandern.net, and of course the content is accessible on mobile devices, tablets, desktop, and so on. So our regional partner, the team of families with small children also is of course very important for the region, as guests who stay in the region visit the trails, the huts, enjoy the atmosphere, the culinary and landscape, all these facets of a region. So what you see here on the right hand is the website they have. They have already a website about Kinderleicht Wandern, which promotes this experience for families. And we also use the main image they have there as leitmotif also for the GATE pilot, so that this is complementary. What was the starting point of our application? Actually, the Salzburg Land has a brochure with all these accessible trails for families, but it's a large brochure, high quality. It's of 100 megabytes, so it's not offered as for download, but you can order it as a print copy. So the idea came up to translate this content of descriptions, of maps, and so on into a website. So first of all, we had to clarify, of course, copyrights, how to use it, and then receive the content from ARGE Cartography, who produced these maps. And actually, we received the high-quality PDF images, maps, and so on. But there was a bit of a problem because this content, they did, for example, not include the names of the maps, did not include the names of the trails and so on. So in the end, we had to decide to actually extract all content from the brochure, like the maps, text, symbols, everything. And then we had to produce the website, which means actually we used the WordPress content management system, which is very widely used, has good digital accessibility and so on. So we had to develop the website content template for the information, had to fill all the template with all the hikes and other attractions. There are also other attractions, not only the hikes. There are, for example, children's show, play stations to play, small museums in the region, and so on. So we had to include for each images and so on, the map. We had to tag the OpenStreetMap with this point of interest over 100. And of course, always test and improve the search functionalities, display of content, etc. And finally, on the 1st of July, we did a soft launch so that some partners, like for example, Independel, our partner in GATE, could do the testing of the web content accessibility, compliance, usability, and so, and also feedback from our main partner, Salzburg Land, feedback from tourism officers, family, children, and so on and so on. So what does it offer? There is information about 82 easy hikes for families with small children in the region. 35 of them you can also use with a stroller. There are also other attractions there. What is the information? The brief information about the site, about the trail, the place to start the trail, the ends, the duration, length, difference in altitude, restaurants, and so on. And also, user can rate hikes and upload own comments and images. In terms of website functionalities, as mentioned, it's based on WordPress with integrated OpenStreetMap and different search functionalities. You can do full text search, use keywords, use ratings, and you get a list of results with brief information and then the link to the full information. On the other hand, you can do the map-based search where the hikes are tagged, zoom into the map, and then again call up the information and so on. We did, as mentioned before, we were able, because we did not implement something on the ground in the field, but this platform, we could launch the application already on the 1st of July, and then start promoting it. So the goal for this year was just to make the website known to relevant actors in the region. So we addressed 22 tourism offices in the region, 31 children family hotels, more the medium to large size, not small pensions. We also addressed the regional groups of nature and hiking organizations called Alpenverein, Naturfreunde. So what did they receive? All received an individual email with brief information of the website, link, request to make the website known to families with small children, and attached flyer. So we produced a flyer, you see it on the right hand, some 5,000 flyers for the distribution to hotels and tourism offices, of course with the QR code, link, and so on. And then also the hotels and the tourism offices received a letter with flyers, so about 100 flyers just to hand out this year for visitors. And then we received feedback, and this was very useful. First of all, it confirmed that the hotels and the officers liked this application, and willingness of the hotels to hand out the flyers. And also we got information about changes in the field. For example, in one case, an existing path was adapted to a very nice trail with playgrounds for children. And so we changed the description and also added a new brochure for this hike. And also in another case, there was some unclear explanation of there were two variants of the hike there. So we made it much clearer and also added an available brochure. And there also one tourism officers made us aware that some tagged hikes were not where they should be. So we discovered a small problem in OpenStreetMap that you have to fix manually. And also there was, for example, a shuttle at one trail where a shuttle was available, but not this year due to the corona. So we had to change the description. So we got a lot of useful information and good feedback for this, but we also could track the usage. So in the period August to October, we had some 524 interested visits with a total of about 4,000 page views. So on average, over 7 pages per interested visit. What is an interested visit? This is tricky. It's always tricky to get this data from the website tracking usage, all kinds of usage. The important thing is to look where only the first page has been viewed. So maybe by a search engine, maybe by a person getting to your website and discovering that it's not what they expected and so on. So when you deduce this only first page views from all, you get the interested visits, and then you can count how many pages have been accessed. So in total, we had, as mentioned before, 522 interested visits. Some of these are, of course, from the website manager who has to change something, like I mentioned before, some changes internal, but then also check the display. But in total, even if we deduce this, we are over 500 in this period. And here you see the flow of access. So we pushed out the information, emailing hotels and distributing flyers to hotels and offices from mid-July to beginning of August. And you can see here, thereafter was an increase and then a decline, but afterward it went up and stayed up throughout all then end of August and September and even into October. So in total, over 500 visits, certainly over 400 by guests in the region, because about 300, there were 310 downloads of maps of 63 hiking trails. So different people have downloaded different hiking trails, but not all. We have 82, so we have 75%, 80% have really been downloaded. What has not been used in the period is actually the function to rate, comment, and upload images, own images and comments. This will be a special focus for promotion in the future. So finally, outlook for next year, we will of course keep the website running in its current form, promote it more also through social media, and track and of course usage, and also collect feedback and make adaptations. The point here is Salzburg Research is actually a research and development center, so we cannot service such developed applications on a regular basis. So the intention is to hand it over to Salzburger Landtourism or an organization commissioned to maintain and update it. As also others stressed, these kinds of applications like web apps or this WordPress, they really allow easy extension of information, so adding new hiking trails, new attractions, more detailed descriptions and media, images, brochures, videos, everything. So what needs to be promoted more is the actually involvement of users to rate, comment, and upload material. So this could very much enrich the website, and then also, of course, enhance the appeal of this hiking region to families with small children. So that's the plan for next year, and that was my presentation on this GATE pilot.
If you can stay just 5 minutes more before we move to the question and answer session, let me launch just one little test more. I am reposting the link in the chat. So through this link, you can access a pool. Okay. Through this little pool, we will again produce a word cloud, but this time the theme of the pool is GATE project is. I will give you half a second of concentration to describe the GATE project in 3 words. Well, actually, I noticed that someone posted a question in the Slido question and answer session earlier, and I took the liberty to post it on the virtual board. The question is how to get the hotels and regions on board. So in other words, how do we reach hotel facilities and local governments? Great questions. Do any of the partners want to answer it?
Well, Fabiana can say a little bit about that.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so first of all, hotels have not really been a target group of GATE. We are more in the natural experience, so hiking trail, parks, other attractions. Hotels are of course very important because when people visit an area, they must also have a barrier-free accommodation, so hotel rooms. So it's very important to have this. It's of course an investment, but when you look into for example, the GATE guidelines, we have shown that put together information, facts and figures of how beneficial it is to target this group of handicapped people, also elderly with some age-dependent disabilities or limitations. Personally, or in our pilot, we learned that hotels are very caring about, let's say, when they receive this information about the website, these trails, they were very willing to hand it out to families, and also they gave feedback because they were concerned or that really interested about the hiking trails in the area, so that they are accessible, and they gave feedback and information to improve information we had. So I would say they are very willing, but of course it's a cost factor to implement barrier-free access to all areas in a hotel or a center there. So there must be a business case to implement these barrier-free conditions, and it's about making them aware that it's really let's say a market there, and a need for this kind of access, accommodation, and so on and so on. In general, I see that there is an increasing interest in barrier-free access to everything. It's of course a push from the convention for access for everybody. There is let's say different levels. The public organization, governments, and so on, they really must implement everything to ensure that the information and facilities are accessible. hotels, there is well, increasing pressure on them and other facilities to improve step by step, I would say. So that's just my point of view about this.
How much are these applications used? Do you have feedback or any account? I think that it refers to the application that we show in the first part of the conference. So about the car park finder or the Blätterbach guide. Gunther, I leave the floor to you.
Yes, it's actually, as I told you, the application works just with the QR code. It was installed in the middle of October, and now we also have foreseen that the provider has to share with us the data, but at the moment, I cannot tell you exactly the data, but we did, or we have installed a counter. Regarding the question number 2, where are these applications advertised? Or where can you find the Parkplatzfinder, the car park finder? What actually regarding the Parkplatzfinder is that we were publishing the first application for iOS and Android already in 2016, really with the name Car Park Finder, which shows the reserved parking spaces in the whole of South Tyrol. At the moment, installing the 10 sensors in Bozen, it was really so that it has taken us until November putting in the sensors, so that we decided to go in the advert with it with a special or separate press conference at the beginning of the next year. In the period from January, February, March, we will make together with the UNESCO Dolomites Foundation a proper press conference with obviously then the launching of the application. At the moment in the internet, you can just see, you can just access to the first version.
How do we continue after the end of the project? Oh, okay, interesting question too.
Well, I can say a few words. For those who have not participated in the morning, I mentioned the impact of the COVID-19 crisis, and that actually there is an increased interest to access nature, natural environments, nature parks, hiking trails, and so on. But we must ensure that people with disabilities are not left behind. There is a role for organizations to have a mandate and the expertise to take care for this, actually boost their activities. And from our side, from the project, we can of course, we have a lot of material content for actually open access for everybody. We have the training videos, which is very important, so people can really see sites, problems, how to address them, voices of people with disabilities, with a small test there, so they can be used by anybody. Especially, I'm thinking of University of Innsbruck and others who have students who can learn and more familiarize with this topic and take it forward, because especially when they study in the area of tourism, they can really make an impact over the next years when they are doing practical works, when after they finish their studies and so on. So it's also a longer term perspective, but the training education is very important. And well, I think we have a lot to offer. So we have guidelines, we have a handbook, we have the videos, we have the help desk and so on. So we delivered a lot, and so we should continue to promoting this to as many different stakeholder groups who can use it. So maybe Innsbruck can say a bit more about that.
Yeah, when I allow me, maybe then Mike and Joachim and Robert will maybe add here something, but thank you for this wonderful presentation, especially in the afternoon, because you could see how theory is implemented. Especially there were two cases perfectly as case studies to be discussed and critically reflected. And I posted two of the things already there, and with Guntram and his great statistics, we also can prove here a bit, and therefore we shown, and we have shown today how many students we can involve here in this discussion, and this will really develop, and I think this will build and flourish into a better and greater development of inclusive tourism. I strongly see the future cooperations also we have had in this project with the experts in inclusive tourism, especially the ÖTSIF in Austria, in the Independent L in South Tyrol. So we have an expert board, a kind of expert board for future developments and future research projects, because it's so important. We can bring here from the academic side the methods and the developments, and they can also match it then with reality and the special needs of the people involved and our target group. So I see here two major developments are coming. Personally, I would like to invite the partners of the locations and with the presentation of them to them in one of my summer courses and maybe the winter lection, and we do a kind of repetition of what we have done today, but going deeper in a discussion with these experts. For example, I see Parco Rossi not only as example for inclusive tourism. I see them more as an example of a great sustainability in tourism. It's so difficult to explain sustainability development or destination development, but here can you see it from the community development, great things, and this is a great example. Similar, I see the pathways to make them inclusive. A great opportunity. We have so many Wanderwege, pathways. We have to renew in the coming years. We can also show this as a best practice example, how you can make them inclusive in a sense of, especially in a target group of elderly people, which becoming more and more have issues and have issues with disabilities, and so this is also a very interesting group for tourism development. So I see here also this example as a wonderful thing, and with Guntram we anyhow exchange in future, because it was a very, very good exchange in guidelines, in guideline development, and I think Joachim and Robert will support me here. It was influencing, it was great, and it was a good exchange. Thank you, Guntram, and also the experts I mentioned before for the input. And so I see here great developments and very concrete developments coming.
Thank you, Alexander. I saw that also Mike Peters from the University of Innsbruck put some sentences in the chat. We also have several master students who will do research in this area and in their thesis. Joachim Nigg is conducting his a PhD project in inclusive tourism, and we see a great interest from international colleagues from other universities to study this area.